The coolant chamber was quiet, too quiet for a military-grade deck on a mining satellite that size. Brandon Kane adjusted the grip on his fusion wrench, kicking the broken panel with just enough force to loosen the plate. Sparks flickered in the dim blue light. Another broken junction, another overworked engineer doing a one-man patch job while the upper decks hosted generals and diplomats in polished uniforms. Station 47. Repair log 9832, initiating bypass. Brandon mumbled into his comm. His words echoed. Then a sound something. Big dot, he turned. A figure stood in the doorway, motionless, breathing fog into the icy air. 7 feet tall, armor like living chrome. Curves no suit could fully contain. Violet skin shimmered beneath a cracked helmet visor. "Whoa," Brandon muttered. "You're not from maintenance." The woman didn't speak. She tilted her head, scanning him like a creature curious about a new prey. Her eyes weren't cold, they were assessing, like a soldier deciding between orders and instinct. Then she spoke. "You're the human engineer." Brandon nodded, swallowing. "Yeah, you don't look like security." "I am not," she said. "I am classified as Tactical Enforcer, Model 61. Designation, Zarenta." Brandon blinked. "You're cyborg." "No," she said plainly. "I am engineered flesh, not machine. Not entirely, but made to dominate, control, obey." The way she said obey made something inside Brandon stir. Not fear, not desire, something else. A question he didn't know how to ask. She stepped forward. "I was ordered to assess your use of classified coolant routes. This station's lower decks hold technology forbidden to your kind." "I'm just patching pipes," Brandon said, lifting his wrench. "Same as yesterday. I didn't ask what's in M. Just stop the leaks." Zarenta's eyes flashed with biolight. "That is not what your superiors told me." Brandon exhaled. "Let me guess. They said I was snooping." She nodded. "Typical," he muttered. "I fix one leak under budget, and suddenly, I'm a spy." Zarenta stepped closer. Her boots clanked against the metal floor. She was built like a goddess from another star, strength and softness, impossible. Balance but her eyes, they held loneliness. "You do not fear me," she said, puzzled. Brandon shrugged. "Should I?" She leaned closer. "I could crush your ribs." He smirked. "I'm tougher than I look." "You are not," she said, bluntly. "But you are curious." Brandon chuckled. "That's a human flaw." "No," Zarenta said quietly. "That is a human strength." They stood like that for a long beat, no orders, no missions, just the breath between two lives colliding. Then, the alert siren blared. Zarenta's head snapped up. "Hostile presence detected. Deck 11. That is 2 levels below us." "I haven't finished the coolant sea-lift. They hit the pumps." "We lose pressure," Brandon said. Zarenta's voice shifted, urgent, decisive. "You will evacuate. I'm not leaving this job half-finished." She stepped closer. "You will die, maybe," he said. "But I'd rather die fixing something than running." She studied him again, deeper this time. Not as a target, as something unfamiliar. Then she said something she hadn't said in decades. "Then I will protect you." And just like that, the mission changed. Not just for her, for both of them. The echo of Zarenta's boots clattered down the narrow maintenance corridor, the metallic hiss of emergency bulkheads sealing behind them. Brandon struggled to keep up, toolbox bouncing against his hip, heart pounding not from fear, but from adrenaline and something he couldn't quite name. "This way," Zarenta commanded, voice low and steady, as if she'd done this 1,000 times before. The glow from her violet skin illuminated the dark corners of the station like a living beacon. Brandon glanced back once. The coolant leak behind them steamed and hissed, a reminder that every second counted. The hostile intruders they called themselves, the reclaimers, were ruthless mercenaries, hired by corporate rivals to sabotage Genevitech's operations. If they reached the power grid, the station would become a tomb. Who are these guys, anyway? Brandon asked, trying to sound casual. Z, Arenta, single quotes S, gaze, sharpened. Pirates. They prey on weak targets. They believe in destruction over creation. Opposite of us. Brandon smiled faintly. Yeah, well, that figures. Us human techs always trying to build, and the galaxies sending folks to tear down. They rounded a corner into a wide maintenance bay. Broken consoles floated in zero-G, and exposed cables sparked like dying stars. Zarenta pointed toward a panel marked emergency power. If we can reroute power through the auxiliary lines, we might hold the station together long enough. For reinforcements. Brandon's fingers itched to get to work. Show me. She knelt beside him, her hands surprisingly gentle, as she helped him reach the tight connections. He noticed the fine lines around her eyes, the almost imperceptible tremor in her breath. This wasn't just a machine or weapon, it was a living being, struggling with something more than circuitry. Why do you help me? Brandon asked quietly. Soldering a faulty relay. Zarenta paused, eyes flickering with uncertain light. Because you are not like the others. The others? He looked up, curious. Humans aboard this station often ignore the Titans. They see us as tools, weapons, property. You treat me like a person. Brandon hesitated. That's because you are. Not a weapon. Not property. You're a person, Zarenta. Her name felt strange, but right on his tongue. Her eyes locked onto his, vulnerability flickering in the depths. I am not made to be loved, she whispered. Maybe. You just haven't met the right human, Brandon said softly, his hands steady on the wiring. Or maybe you haven't given yourself a chance. Zarenta's lips twitched into something almost like a smile. You are reckless. Maybe, Brandon admitted. But sometimes recklessness is the only way forward. The station shuddered violently. Lights flickering as an explosion rocked the upper decks. Time is running out, Zarenta said, standing swiftly and pulling a compact energy rifle from her side. I will hold them off. You finish the reroute. Brandon swallowed hard but nodded. I'm counting on you. She glanced back, her violet skin shimmering under the emergency lights. And I on you. The corridor outside filled with the harsh clang of armored boots. Zarenta moved like a fast, precise, unstoppable. Each shot rang out with controlled fury, her enhanced reflexes and strength turning the firefight into a deadly dance. Brandon worked feverishly at the panel, sweat slick on his brow. He'd fixed plenty of things, but this was more than a repair. This was survival. His cum crackled. Zarenta, incoming from the starboard hatch. She didn't answer. Brandon looked up just in time to see her dive, a flash of purple and silver, catching a mercenary mid-strike and throwing him across the hall. Got you, she hissed, breathing hard. Brandon smiled, despite the chaos. There was no denying it anymore. He wasn't just an engineer here, and she wasn't just a soldier. They were partners, bound by fate, fighting to save more than just a station. The firefight had thinned out, but the danger was far from over. Zarenta's breath came in steady bursts as she surveyed the corridor, her violet eyes sharp despite exhaustion. Brandon joined her, wiping grime from his face, his hands still trembling slightly from adrenaline. We're not out of the woods yet, she said, voice low but fierce. The reclaimers have backup, more than we anticipated. Brandon nodded, checking the patched power conduit. Reroute's holding for now, but it won't last forever. We need a plan. Zarenta's gaze drifted toward the viewport. Outside, the vast asteroid field glittered cold and indifferent. An eternal battleground for miners and outlaws alike. They want control of this station. It's more than just resources. They want to cripple Genevitech's influence. Brandon glanced at her, noting the subtle shift in her tone. So, it's corporate war. Guess we're caught in the crossfire. Caught? No. We're the front line. Zarenta's words were fierce. But there was a flicker of doubt beneath the armor. Brandon stepped closer, lowering his voice. You're not alone in this, Zarenta. Whatever happens, I've got your back. She looked at him then, really looked like. Seeing him for the first time beyond the human engineer and purple-skinned titan. I wasn't designed to trust, she confessed. Designed to obey, to fight, not to hope. But you do both, Brandon said, meeting her gaze. You fight because you hope. You hope because you've learned to trust. There was a silence, heavy but warm, before Zarenta nodded. Let's finish this, together. They moved swiftly through the dim corridors, repairing systems and barricading bulkheads as the station groaned under pressure. Brandon's mind raced as he recalibrated a damaged sensor array. He thought about how much had changed in the past, few weeks from strangers thrown together by circumstance to something ... more ... Suddenly, an alert blared. Life support breach sector for Zarenta. Grabbed his arm, eyes blazing. We have to get there. People could suffocate. They raced through twisting halls, the emergency lights casting long shadows. Around a corner, they encountered a group of reclaimers. Zarenta stepped forward, energy rifle raised. Stay behind. Me, she instructed. The battle was brutal, but brief. Zarenta's strength and precision turned the tide, and Brandon was amazed at her calm under fire. Once the attackers were down, they hurried to the damaged life support terminal. Brandon knelt, working quickly to seal the breach, while Zarenta stood guard. Ever wonder what it's like to be free? He asked softly. She glanced at him. Every day. He smiled. Me too. Minutes later, the alarm finally ceased. The breach was sealed. They slumped against the wall, breaths ragged but triumphant. Why'd you risk so much? To help me, Zarenta asked, voice barely above a whisper. Because you're more than what they say you are, Brandon replied. You're a person, a fighter, someone worth fighting for. Her eyes glimmered with unshed emotion. Then, fight with me, not just for the station, but for what we can build together. Brandon reached out, fingers brushing her small, human gestures that spoke volumes. In that moment, amidst the chaos and ruin, something unbreakable was forged, a bond born from struggle, respect, and the faintest whisper of hope. The station trembled under the distant thuds of impact. Corporate reinforcements were closing in, their warships casting ominous shadows over the asteroid belt. Inside, Brandon and Zarenta prepared for the inevitable showdown in the command center. Flickering monitors displayed incoming enemy vectors and system failures. We can't hold them off much longer, Brandon muttered, fingers flying across the console as he rerouted power to the defense grid. Zarenta stood behind him, her massive frame a shield of calm amidst the chaos. Then we don't hold them off, we outsmart them. Brandon glanced up, eyebrows raised. What's the plan? She smiled, a rare, genuine curve of lips that softened her fierce features. We use the station itself. She led him through maintenance tunnels to the engineering core, where a tangled web of conduits and reactors pulsed with energy. This station was never meant to last forever. I've been running diagnostics, found some vulnerabilities. Brandon's eyes gleamed with excitement despite the tension. A trap. Exactly. Together, they worked fast, setting charges and rerouting emergency power to critical junctions. We'll force the reclaimers to retreat or get caught in the collapse, Zarenta explained. It's risky, but it might be our only chance. Brandon nodded, adrenaline pumping. Suddenly, the station jolted violently, cutting power to the corridors. Power's failing, he said, trying to keep calm. Backup systems online, Zarenta replied, activating her internal reserves to move through darkened halls. They reached the central control room just as security forces breached the entrance. Brandon raised a makeshift weapon, but Zarenta's commanding voice stopped him. "Let me handle this." She stepped forward, voice steady and authoritative. "We don't want more bloodshed, but we won't let you take this station." The Reclaimer leader sneered. "Genevitech's property belongs to us now." Zarenta's eyes narrowed. "Not if. We have anything to say about it?" The standoff was tense, breaths held, weapons ready. Then, the station shook again. Explosions echoed through the hull as their trap activated. Fire and smoke billowed, forcing the Reclaimers to retreat. Amid the chaos, Zarenta grabbed Brandon's hand. "We need to get to the escape pods." They sprinted through corridors, now crumbling around them. Brandon's heart pounded not just from the danger, but because, in that moment, every second with Zarenta was precious. They reached the pods and initiated launch sequences. As they blasted away from the dying station, the glow of the explosions faded behind them. Safe for now, but their fight was far from over. Zarenta looked at Brandon, determination fierce in her eyes. "We'll build again." "We will," he agreed. Outside, the stars stretched endless and bright, a reminder that freedom was a journey, not a destination. The shuttle shuddered as it broke free from the chaos of the destroyed station. Outside the viewport, the void of space stretched infinite and indifferent, sprinkled with distant stars that seemed to watch silently. Brandon sat beside Zarenta, her hand resting lightly on her swollen belly. The glow from the cabin lights cast a soft shimmer on her violet skin, highlighting the tired yet resolute expression on her face. "We made it," he said quietly, eyes never leaving her. She gave a small nod. "For now, but the fight has only just begun." He smiled, squeezing her hand. "Whatever comes, we face it together." Their journey led them far from the corporate chains of Genevitech, to the Outer Rim colonies, where lawlessness ruled but freedom reigned. In these forgotten star systems, Brandon and Zarenta found a place to call home, a rugged world scarred by mining scars and reclaimed by wild forests. There, they began to build, not just a sanctuary, but a legacy. Weeks turned into months. Together, they fashioned a life from the planet's raw gifts. Brandon's hands, once skilled at fixing machines on cold stations, learned to coax life from soil and metal alike. Zarenta's strength and intellect shaped their settlement, protecting it from threats and nurturing its growth. But the true miracle was growing inside. Her, the child they carried, was more than a symbol. She was hope incarnate, a bridge between two species, a testament that love could rewrite the rules of fate. On quiet evenings, beneath alien skies dusted with unfamiliar constellations, Brandon would hold Zarenta close and feel the gentle movements within her. "Do you think she be like us?" he asked one night, voice low. "Za." Renta smiled, eyes shining with wonder. "She'll be better, stronger, smarter, freer, because she carries the best of both worlds and the courage to change them." Their home became a beacon. Word spread through whispered channels of a haven where titans and humans lived as equals, where hybrids were welcomed as the future. Others who had fled corporate control found their way to them, bringing skills, stories, and the dream of freedom. Together, they formed a new community, one built on trust, respect, and the unshakable belief that love could break even the coldest chains. Then came the day Zarenta went into labor. The settlement gathered around, the air thick with anticipation and hope. Brandon stayed by her side, guiding her through the pain with steady hands and unwavering devotion. When at last, their daughter came into the world, small being with shimmering violet skin and eyes that held the depth of oceans, there was a collective gasp. Hope. They named her. Hope. She was everything they dreamed of, and more, the promise that the revolution they had sparked was not in vain. As hope grew, so did the movement they had begun. Across star systems, others rose to challenge corporate tyranny, inspired by the courage of a titan and a human who chose love over fear. Brandon and Zarenta watched their daughter take her first steps, her laughter ringing through the clearing like a song. The future was uncertain, fraught with danger and sacrifice, but it was theirs to shape, and in the vastness of space, among the endless stars, their love and their family were a light that could never be extinguished. The revolution had started with a single choice to love freely, fiercely, and without compromise. And now, that choice was changing the universe.